My dear students, I hope all of you are fine and having good health. Today we have the lecture number 9, that is from the chapter Fundamentals of Chemistry, and the topic we have, it is mainly the compounds, formula unit, and the molecular formula. So let's have a look that what does mean by the compounds. If we have a look on the compounds, we have here a lot of word. This is a compound, this is made up of that. So basically compounds, it is a substance, and that substance is basically made up of two or more elements. When these elements combined chemically, they are combined chemically together in a fixed ratio fixed ratio, then they are going to form a compound. So in this, basically the elements when combined, and elements must be two or more, they combine chemically in a fixed ratio, then this is known as basically a compound. For example, here we have example oxygen atom. Here we have two oxygen atoms. Next, these two oxygen atoms, as the one oxygen atom is having the bond with the two hydrogen, these are the two hydrogens, and this is the oxygen, so they are going to form the compound. Likewise, if we have water molecule, it is having the ratio 2 ratio 1 for hydrogen to 1 oxygen, so this is a compound. If we have another example like H2 SO4, it is the sulfuric acid. The ratio is hydrogen to sulfur to oxygen is this 2 ratio 1 ratio 4. So this is known as mainly compound. So this ratio we cannot change. It is the fixed ratio. So the elements when chemically combine a fixed ratio, they are going to form the compound. As a result of the compound formation, here we have, for example, the simple, we have water molecule. It is made up of hydrogen and oxygen. Before the combination, these two elements have their own properties, but after the combination, they are going to form the water as a compound. Now, water is having its own properties that are different from the properties of hydrogen as well as oxygen. So, elements lose their own properties, and the new compound or the new substance that is formed, it is having entirely different properties from the previous one. Next, the compounds are unbreakable, like the cannot be broken down into constitute by the simple methods. So if we need to separate out the constituents of the compounds, we need some type of chemical method. So by use of simple methods or physical methods, we cannot be able to break these molecules. Next, we have the types of compounds. Basically, we have two types of compounds, and these two types of compounds we have. The first one we have covalent compound, and second one we have it is ionic compounds. So what is difference between the covalent compounds and ionic compounds? The covalent compounds are the compounds that are formed by the mutual sharing of electrons. These compounds are known as the covalent compounds, and their bond is known as covalent bond. On the other hand, if we have a look on the ionic compound, they are made up of ions, and ions are formed when one atom is going to lose and the other atom is going to gain the electrons. So the compounds are formed are known as the ionic compounds, that is it is related to the ions. And when the ionic compounds are formed, they formed by the lose or gain of the electrons. For example, if we have a look on the covalent compounds, we have the example water molecule. It is a covalent compound. We have chlorine, we have H2SO4. All these are the covalent compounds. On the other hand, the ionic compounds, we have sodium chloride, we have potassium chloride, we have calcium carbonate. All these are the basically ionic compounds. Next basically we have molecular formula and the formula unit. Now, what does mean by the molecular formula? Basically, as we have learned, there are two types of compounds. The number one we have the covalent compounds. So, how we can be able to represent these covalent compounds? For the representation of the covalent compounds, we need a formula, and that formula we call as the molecular formula. For example, all the compounds that are going to exist around us, they are found as the molecular compounds, or we can say that these are the covalent compounds. And a molecule is truly represented by the covalent compound, and its formula is known as the molecular formula. For example, if we are talking about the water molecule H2O, if I'm going to simply write the water, and I'm going to represent it with a formula. That formula is known as its molecular formula. So here we have the oxygen, and here we have the two hydrogen. Oxygen is having partial negative charge and two hydrogens are having partial positive charge. So this is their basically molecular formula. Next we have the formula unit. So to represent the ionic compounds, ionic compounds, I have already told that the compounds that are formed of made up of ions. Ions are formed by the loose or simple gain of electrons are known as the ionic compounds, and to represent the ionic compounds we need the formula. That formula we call as the formula unit. We have a lot of example here. If we have the sodium chloride, as its structure is a cubic structure, and to represent that we have that formula as NaCl. This is known as its formula unit. Likewise, we have another example, for example potassium chloride, we have cesium chloride. To represent them we need the formulas. These formulas are known as the formula unit, and it is used to represent the ionic compounds. After that we have another example, like we have calcium chloride, CaCl2. This is also an ionic compound, and to represent that ionic compound we need the formula. It is known as the formula unit, that is specifically for the ionic compounds. So this is all about the molecular formula, compounds, and the formula unit. I hope you guys understand about that, and if you have any queries you can ask me about that in the comment section, and I will get back to you guys on inshallah. For that time, have a good day and Allah Hafiz.